The Battle of Culloden, 1746. This defeat was inevitable. The Highland Jacobite army had lost already before the battle started. They were hungry, ill-supplied and ill-led. They'd lost in a deeper sense. The previous year, this army had got as far as Derby in England, and the leader and pretender, Prince Charles, Bonnie Prince Charlie, had wanted to push on to London, until dissuaded by the clan chiefs who formed his officer corps. Thereby they belied their rash reputation. In fact, a push to London might have succeeded. The Hanoverian Home Defence Forces were tiny and badly organised, the main British army being on the continent fighting France and Prussia, and even the king, the Hanoverian king, George II, was out of the country. He was the last English king actually to lead his armies in battle. If the half-Jacobite gentry of lowland Scotland, Wales and England did not rise up for Prince Charles, as the Highlanders had done, equally they were not rallying to George II of Hanover either, a point often overlooked. Much of the country was in sullen neutrality, waiting to see which way the cat would jump. So if the Highland army had pressed on from Derby to London in 1745, there's just a chance that there could have been a Jacobite restoration. But it was not to be. The chance was missed. By turning north, turning back at Derby, the army lost momentum, and the intervening year between then and Culloden had been one long, slow, depressing retreat through England back up to Scotland, to their heartland in the Highlands, until they could go no further. Culloden is near Inverness. Inverness is in the north-east tip of Scotland. Note, I said the Jacobite Highland army. There is nothing inevitable about this coupling of adjectives. The Jacobites had many alleged supporters all over Britain. See what I've said above, or hear what I've said above. While the Highland clans had been historically against the government, any government, and no particular friends to the Stuarts, on the whole, in the days of Stuart prosperity. But in 45, they took their opportunity to be against the Hanoverian government, and this proved a disastrous last Highland fling, if you'll excuse the pun. So I think more significant than the final extinction or destruction of Jacobitism at Culloden, which would have been just the substitute of one royal family for another, is the virtual destruction which ensued of a whole society and culture, the Gaelic Highlands. This followed with the state terrorism and repression instituted by the Hanoverians, and later developments like the clearances of the Highlands, where people were kicked out, often by their own clan chiefs, in favour of sheep. That came later, about 1800. Until then, you had the survival of something interesting and odd, the survival of a pre-feudal, near-Dark Age tribal society in Britain. Though in a gradually contracting area, the Gaels of Scotland had not overall had a successful history. They had founded the Kingdom of Scotland, the Scottish monarchy. This is the age that Shakespeare makes famous, the age of King Duncan and Macbeth and Malcolm Canmore. They're all Gaelic-speaking. But Malcolm Canmore, who married an English wife, paradoxically introduced some Norman aristocrats to Scotland and turned southern Scotland round to an Anglo-French civilization. But even in the 16th century, the Gaelic-speaking area was about half of Scotland in terms of population. By the 1700s, however, it was about 1/7 of the population, and while parts of lowland Scotland were progressing, the Gaels much less so. And then came the disaster of Culloden. Nevertheless, we have an immense loss of a language and culture. Culloden is the turning point. Wordsworth celebrates or remarks on this in his poem about the girl Reaping in the Hebrides. When he's a tourist there in the early 1800s, she's singing in Gaelic, and he writes, Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow of sad, far-off, forgotten things and battles long ago. That's extremely likely, because that about sums up Highland history. By the 1850s, the Highlands are fashionable again. Queen Victoria builds Balmoral there, expands it. She has her servants in Highland dress. She has her special friend John Brown, an outspoken Highland servant. And the royal family have been wearing kilts, in spite of their predominantly German blood, and going there ever since. People go up to the Highlands to shoot. But the thing is that the Highlands, like a tiger turned into a hearthrug, have been pacified completely. And interesting if obstreperous society and civilization is burning very low. I think about 80,000 or 90,000 people speak Scottish Gaelic. There are more people in Scotland who speak Urdu. And one can, in a sense, I think, regret it. For a long time, the destruction of the Highlands wasn't regretted. The Lowland Scots didn't like the Highlanders, and English historians would say it's all in the name of progress. The early 20th century historian Trevelyan himself, the great nephew of a man of Highland descent, Jim Macaulay, and Macaulay was somebody who, although of Highland descent, disapproved of the Highlanders, but Trevelyan said, an Afghanistan could not be tolerated 50 miles from the modern Athens, meaning Enlightenment Edinburgh. Nowadays we would take perhaps a more sympathetic view of Highland civilization. What it has done, of course, is spread the Highlanders all over the world, in a sense. So you get upper-class Englishmen of Highland descent like Harold Macmillan, who become Prime Minister of England and marry Duke's daughters. And that kind of thing. But the Highlands itself really is gone. It's a vast, empty countryside.